IRL. I'm here with Dale Forward, or as I lovingly refer to him and many do, Deefer. How are you?
I'm great. I feel good. It's in the afternoon here, and so I'm just relaxing.
Tell me, I stayed up late to hear. Tell me all about how you ended up here. How did you find
Um, so I started like in Algorand, where I was actually suggested to go onto Algorand because I was on Ethereum, and like I wanted to do NFTs because all my other projects weren't really like, I guess, earning enough of a livable income. So I was like testing out all the different things, and I thought, well, I need to start trying out new tech. And that's when I got into NFTs. And so I started on Ethereum, but the gas fees just were blowing people out of the water. And so people mentioned Algorand, and I was just like, yeah, all right, I'll test it out. And I released some pieces, and they started selling, which was awesome because then I had a bit more algo to muck around with. Because all I started off with was 2 algo to cover little fees and stuff. And like then it's all grown. Like I've never bought any algo too, so it's a really like cool experience. But yeah, no, I've been an artist all my life, and I think that that's sort of what I'm meant to do. Like life's kept pushing me that way. It's what I like. I think about naturally. Like I think about how can I make symbols and make stories and stuff that'll be a positive influence to like its viewers and everything, especially me. So and it's kind of cool with the movement of NFTs because it kind of fits in with what I've been trying to do beforehand, which is making some sort of like talismans and stuff using visual media and then creating a sort of story and community and stuff behind it. And yeah, that's how I sort of got to
You're
Algorand.
not, like you said, you're not new to art, right? So you have a lot of really amazing projects, both in the real world. I've seen some incredible things that you did with like the local library that were
Yeah,
fantastic. Walking story.
yeah, I
Um,
could run through some of the things.
Give me
So
some.
yeah, so I started out doing just normal drawings, so ink black and white ink drawings. That then led into me experimenting with different ways of making art. So I like went and did a course at TAFE, which is like I guess a college in Australia, maybe for Americans. And that was teaching me about digital media. So that's when I learnt a lot of my early 3D stuff when I was younger. But then I went into primary school teaching, and when I was doing that, I was learning about books and everything, and talking to the art teachers there. Where I started exploring with the red and blue glasses that you get in the 3D movies, and that's when I developed my first comic book, Warlock, which was like an interactive one where it wasn't in 3D, but you closed one eye and changed eyes, and it would get two separate images on each page. There was a story about a warlock who had a cursed eye, so you could see how he sees. Um, and that I sold that online, and that's how I started to develop a business, working with printers. Then I started making more books. I'd work with artists from like around the world, like Peru and America, and and Germany and stuff like that, where I was like printing basically their books, but also helping them put it all together. That then pushed me into having my artworks into stores, which then suggested one of the owners of the store suggested if I could do the red and blue glasses thing, but with like naked ladies and or like something like that, like sex. And I was like, because he was like, it was a rougher sort of store, you know. And so I was like, all right, I'll try it. And so that's when I explored making art. Where on checkoutmyshirt.com, that's the website if you wanted to check it out. It's like they're basically shirts that when you look at them, they just look like normal patterns. But when you put on these red glasses, it hides some of the pattern and shows like a hidden naked lady or whatever underneath. And that was a really interesting like artwork to explore because it became a real social experiment. Like I really saw a lot of different groups in the community, and like being able to have people share it because I only ever promoted it at the pub. So and like a little bit online, but it's hard to promote online. And so that sort of stuff showed me more about like making connections. That's when I started to do like gallery exhibitions, which I was like sort of slowly moving up the ranks a little bit in a way with that, where I was eventually starting to get like being paid to have exhibitions, which is crazy as an artist to even think that that's a thing. Like it's always you pay to have your artwork up in the gallery, and that just is how it is. But for them to actually pay me, that was crazy. And then it developed into me thinking about my two businesses of the books and the shirts, thinking, all right, I need to take this to the next level. And so I went to it's like a government funded thing to start your own business, where they would basically pay you over 6 weeks, just because I've been on government payments for ages, like because art doesn't make much money. So at least when you're starting out and stuff. And so I went and I was doing this government funded sort of thing where it was 6 week course, but and it was how to start your own business. But luckily, I already had done all that in my own learning. So all the stuff that they were telling me was pretty much the same. So it more just like solidified my knowledge. But while I was there, I taught myself augmented reality and making like apps on your phone. So and that's where I've developed like an augmented reality tarot card deck called like Digi Tarot. And you can buy it on my site as well, or check it out if you wanted to. But that helped then show me the 3D program Unity, which is the game making engine, which that then showed me how to make just normal phone apps and games online. But then also, once I started thinking less about the game side and more just about making art, it's what led into me just making pure artworks to make into my books. So then I could smash out artworks really quickly and then make a story. But that's when like I realized, oh yeah, like books are really hard to promote and it was really hard to find a good community, and then also making money because you need to store the books and then mail the books, and it all comes out of like the price. And that's when I was like, oh god, there's nothing. Like I don't know how to make money from my art anymore. And that's when I thought, oh, NFTs is probably, I'll just try out NFTs. And then that's when it sort of started to lead into everything there. But then once like I got into NFTs, then I started my collection of algo gods, which was the one of one high quality artworks, like where I was really taking my time and experimenting with different styles. Where I did things like HTML NFTs, where they were like books that you can flip through the page. There was 3D ones, so that you could like rotate the 3D model. There was videos of like zooming stuff. There were GIFs and static images, and recently I've been exploring Arc 19 of artworks that will change over time. So like during the day or daily, the artwork will change. So that's just a new sort of media that I'm going to explore. But as well as making metaverses for showing my art off and doing fun events like knighting people, because I knight some of the people that hold like 10 or more of my artworks, just because I thought if you're going to do a VIP thing, that would be the best way. Like if they were recognized as a knight of the gods and everything. Um, but yeah, like, and I guess then like I also did fund some other stuff too, like where I haven't really released it yet, but I funded some writers to make a choose your own adventure inspired by Algo Gods, and that's still in the works. And I don't know how long that'll take. As well as yeah, like trying to fund some dev stuff for the community as well. Oh, and then all the generative stuff as well. So, which is the goblins. There's Al Goblin Toen 1 and 2, which are derivatives of Goblin Town. And then there's the Wizard Kings, which is my first sort of real attempt at making my own style using generative art. And then it goes into the little collections where it's Little Devil Club, Little Angels, and recently the Little Demons, as well as Little Spooks, which was one for Halloween. And I think that sums everything up. Sorry if that was a bit long, but that's yeah, all that I can remember I've done.
You missed something kind of important, and I do want to jump back and highlight some of those projects that I'm a big fan of. But you somehow left out the two-handed upside down drawing.
Yeah. Yeah, I did forget that one. Yeah,
And then you have a lot of like really cool riffs off other people's projects lately. Like I just saw you do a two-handed sappy seal, which is an NFT project from another chain.
yeah.
Everybody loves your two-handed drawing. I feel like it's the equivalent of a bodybuilder, like, doing the except you're doing it with your mind and your art. It's amazing. So I don't know a little bit about that before, but
Thank you. Yeah, like I forget that I do it because that was out of necessity that I learned and taught myself that. Because when I was doing the Warlock comic, I was messing up my shoulder from drawing for hours for over months and stuff. And I thought, well, like I was getting really like pain in all my neck and my shoulder. And so I thought the best thing maybe would be to just start drawing with my left hand and then get that hurting too. And then it'll probably like balance things out maybe. And so I spent like about 2 or something years training, like kind of casually, where I just draw now and then a two-handed drawing upside down, a little skull and crossbones, so I could show people at the pub, and that would be my training. And then that developed into me being able to kind of just draw with two hands after a while. But I just sort of do still think of it as a parlor trick. I guess I should be taking it more seriously, but I do know that a lot of people like it, and yeah, I'd love to do more of it. I'm just still figuring out the best way of like presenting it in a NFT form, but it is good for promotion and stuff. And yeah, I love doing redraws of things as well. That has been a really fun thing. Just being able to remake someone's artwork and trying to take it to that next level, or like changing the style of it. I love all that stuff. Yeah.
It's like putting your default glasses on instead of your beer goggles on. I love it.
Yeah.
We get to see what a project looks like in Dale Vision almost. It's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I find endearing about you is the amount you say thanks heaps, because it's adorable and I feel like everybody loves it. But also you're like very unapologetically like stumbling through your own journey and being a creator and what being an artist is. So yeah, you've done cool things like physical comic books and not safe for work t-shirts. And I think at one point I heard that you did burlesque.
Yeah, I did do burlesque. Yeah, that's where I got this tattoo, which is also it's a W and an M for my 2 comic books, Warlock and Master. Yeah, that was a fun time doing
You
burlesque.
have a walking book at the library. You
Yeah,
do 3D art, you do digital art, you do generative art, you do pen and ink marker art. You
yeah,
do it all, and you're so unapologetically experimenting that like I feel like that's why people really love connecting with you. And one of the reasons I was stoked you were like, yeah, IRL, I love that heaps. If you could, if we could talk. I appreciate it. I think that it says something. There are a lot of NFT projects that are specifically PFPs. And I think that you are kind of floating a line of between just art and like what we see more on the PFPs. Like I've rocked your pieces as PFPs, but it's not a PFP project. It's very much like an art project. It's constantly evolving and changing. I like the generative series that you have done because it made your artwork weighs a little bit lower on.
yeah.
So,
It's the beauty of NFTs.
and I think it's a great case study for other artists that maybe want to know if there's space for art in NFTs. So that leads me to my next question. You kind of can do it all, but if you were to go back and give yourself advice, or maybe advice to somebody who's looking in from the outside of Web3 but considers himself a creative soul.
I think like the NFT collecting culture at the moment is an interesting one that has like certain qualities. It's not a cross cut of society as a whole yet. And there's, say, where you were talking about like degens and stuff, how there's a certain type of major group that's in NFTs and collecting, say, like art NFTs at the moment. And so if you're going in thinking that your art style, because you think it's good art, it might not go with what the NFT collectors like are going for. But that being said, that doesn't mean at all that your art's not good. It just means that maybe the masses in that community at the moment aren't they're maybe not used to it or not looking for it or maybe just not connecting with it. And so it might be a struggle if you're like trying to say I think photography is a common one where there's some really hardcore collectors of photography, but there's not a lot of them. So that's why the PFPs are so popular, because everybody's loving PFPs and they have certain qualities in them. So if you're going into, I think, NFTs, you've got to be aware that there's a certain audience that are there. And if you're thinking that, all right, my art's really good and it's respected in my friends and stuff, people respect it, you might not be able to get enough people in the community to be able to support you completely straight out of the gate. So it's I think it's important to just recognize the truth in that sort of side first, going in, thinking, okay, maybe it might be a while, and maybe it's a year or two until I do actually build a community that then I can start being supported by. And then as well, being an artist, building a community and building a support network and like a Twitter and Discord sort of stuff, that's its own challenge too. Like I see a lot of great artists, but they can't maintain a community, and then I see some people that can maintain a community but just aren't great artists. And if you can do both of those, or you can fill the gaps by having other support around, then you can basically just like smash it. Like in theory, and as long as you're like listening to the communities and learning about crypto, because I think learning about crypto is really important too. Like learning about, say, how people trade and the mindset of the people that you're trying to give your NFTs to, because then you can cater how you promote yourself and the types of art choices that you have. Like, I think that that's a really important part early on, is trying to understand where your stuff sits with the community, because then like a big thing as well that other people just in life, in art and stuff, mess around is they try and like they'll listen to criticism from people that aren't their target market. And then they think, oh god, like this person doesn't like my work. It's like the whole thing with utility, right? That's the big challenge. Is there's like I think two big groups, or like two ends to a spectrum, where some people love just pure art, and then some people just want utility. Everybody's somewhere in between somewhere. But if you're making just pure art, listen to the people in utility, like that's, and but don't think that, like, don't care about if you don't get sales from them though. Just care about how much the people in art are loving your stuff, and focus on that, because those people in utility, you're barking up at the wrong tree. So it's like trying to be aware of where your art sits, and then once you develop that, then you can actually focus in and say, all right, instead of just making art that these people like, let's make it so they love it forever and like they cherish that stuff. And rather than trying to make it, oh, have more utility and make these other people happy, because which sometimes can be good, and maybe like that's the type of person and the artist that you are. But I think though that looking at the qualities that you have that have already gotten action, and then extending them further, can just more solidify this your standing more. Where if you were to do utility as well, maybe like you can do some cool stuff with that, and it'll bring more buyers in, but it can have the potential to dilute the actual art itself. And people might think that like you won't be getting as clear an indicator of the quality of the stuff, because when people talk about the worth of your art, they'll mix in utility in that as well, and it can get a bit confusing. Where now, that's why I just think sticking to one thing or one really strong thing, and developing it over time can be better for the community, because they can understand it more, and it's just they'll love it and cherish it more. Because at the end of the day, I think like yeah, you want to have things moving around so maybe you can get secondary sales, but I think it's so much more important to think about the actual end result, which is I think trying to live like a good life, and when people are trying to make money and stuff too. But in art, art I think can just be a meaningful and significant thing that people can collect and feel, and it brings energy into their life. And maybe it doesn't move heaps fast, but you're doing what you want it to do. And so, like, that's the type of collection that I think an art collection should be. Otherwise, then it sort of blurs into a PFP collection or a utility one. So I think, yeah, like the new artists coming in, learning about where, like, what the community is like, and then how their artwork can fit into that community, which can take a year or two. Then, like, yeah, just growing with it, because I think it's much better to try and figure out your strengths and then bringing it to the community, rather than just trying to do exactly what you think they want, because then it'll be meaningful to you and you can maintain it long term. And it might be something that those people that like are collectors, they can't even put into words that that's what they want. But when they see it, they're like, yes, I love it, and but I would never have asked for it. So I think just trying to maintain honesty with yourself and listening to the community is the two big things. But yeah, it's hard. There's a lot of little luck and stuff, and just building skills all day, every day, if you can.
Timing is a lot of it. I've seen you show off old artwork. You'd be like, yeah, like I shared this before, and it's like it wasn't on my timeline. I don't know what happened, but like sometimes it's just timing and being persistent. If it's something you're passionate about, which it's clear you are. I love when I hear you in spaces or read some threads of you like contemplating trying something new or evaluating what you've been doing late. Like you're very public about that process. And it's very cool because, like I said, it's
Yeah.
like the inner workings of an artist as far as what's going on in your head. So that's why
Yeah.
people.
I think, yeah, that's like a big thing too, is being public about all the things, but and not being public about everything, because I do have a private group chat with, like, say, collectors, and they're the ones that get all the other weird things, like all the other really weird ideas that I don't post publicly. But yeah, like building publicly, it gives connection from the audience to the artwork, and like there's a lot of artworks that if I just showed you the end result, like with two-handed drawings, if I just showed you the last bit, you'd be like, oh, I don't even understand. Like, but it's seeing it being built and created, like, adds more meaning to it, and I think it adds more value. Like, if you you know, if you're there alongside a person on a journey, like, you see the value in it more, and it becomes, I guess, more of a pure experience, and just more information and meaning and stuff. And that's what I guess I'm trying to go for. Like, and then yeah, people can influence it too, so they end up being a part of the artwork too, which is kind of really cool. And it takes, like, the edge off me as well, because then I don't have to think as much. Like, they can just tell me if something's rubbish.
I think, especially with you being in Australia, I don't always get to catch you in spaces, although we do bump into one another occasionally. It's been cool. You and I have had some great conversations surrounding mental health for artists in the space. And I don't know, I just appreciate the honesty that comes with conversations with you when I get to have them. So if anybody's curious and sees Dale in a space, it's always incredibly cool to hear you quick chat about what you're up to, how you're feeling. Like, it's cool. I appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. It's so lovely to have met you and see, like, us getting to know each other, and now finally this interview. It's cool to see the progress in everybody in this space. It's mad. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. It really is. And I'm sure we'll have to do another one soon, and catch up with you and your undisclosed alpha about maybe a choose your own adventure type story.
Oh yeah, there's so many little things that I'm working on. So yeah, just follow my Twitter, I guess. dfart2287, all that stuff.
Well, we will talk again soon. Appreciate your time, and obviously make sure you subscribe to the tubes.
Yeah, no, of course. Thank you so much. See you.
So you prefer to be called Dale, correct?
Yeah, I go by many names. Yeah. Um. Yeah, Dale is my name, Dale Forward. Which is why I'm DFart. Um. Yeah, because it's DF art.
But you're always going to be DFART in my heart. It's
Yeah.
just, I'll take this opportunity to ask you to subscribe.